in San Diego. So I think we'll go with that. I see Roy. Good to see Roy. Hi, Roy. Shabbat Shalom. Okay. All right. Baruch Atah Adonai.
Elohim melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah.
Zach's just came on. So hi, Zach. How are you? Okay. Now, here is the calendar coming up. We have Thanksgiving coming up, and that's terrific. November 29th, we have our next current events class. Last week was the largest attendance of any session of the current events class ever. I don't know why people seem to be interested in the news, as who knows. Okay, November 29th. Then on Wednesday, and here I'm going to defer to Cindy, there is a sisterhood board. Cindy, so tell us what's going on.
We're going to be having a sisterhood board meeting from 10 to 11, and that will be at your home. And at 11, Stan will come down to the meeting and talk about his book, and we will provide a Zoom link for anyone interested in hearing that.
Okay, and the best part is what's going to be for lunch?
Pizza. Well, that's up to Risa. We could order anything, but I think we were talking about pizza because it's just easy. We've done that before, even though your pizza there isn't open anymore.
It is. It is open.
Yes. Well, anyway, Risa and you will figure out lunch, and then we'll stay for Rabbi Nanis's women's Torah study at noon.
Okay.
Yeah, full morning.
It's a full morning.
And while I'm talking, I just want to mention it'll be in the Wilshire Weekly Monday. Sisterhood is doing Hanukkah in Santa Monica, December 13th at Froman's. They're wonderful. They let everybody have their own check, so you don't have to pay in advance. Susie's in charge of it, and it was a lovely time last year. The only thing we ask you is if you do sign up and then you decide you can't come, that you let us know, because we had a lot of empty seats last year. But we hope you'll all join us. We'd love to have everyone from Torah Study celebrate Hanukkah with us December 13th, 6 o'clock at Froman's Deli.
Okay, Cindy, by the way, if you would like to publish the names of the people who make reservations and don't show up, we could kind of put that on the screen. Okay?
Oh, we could do that.
Cindy, what's the date of the board meeting? I didn't get it.
The first.
The 6th.
The 6th.
December 6th?
Yeah, it'll be at Risa and Stan's in the conference room downstairs.
10 o'clock?
10 o'clock the meeting, 11 o'clock Stan, 12 o'clock Susan.
Do we RSVP for that?
Very good. Very good. Thank you for that. Jim is not on. Risa, is there another film thing coming up? You don't know. Don't know. Okay. Okay, we'll wait. Checking in, just checking in. Anyone have anything extraordinary, interesting, concerning going on within your families? This is our community. We share these things. Anyone want to bring something up? I am going to do it. Shosh was in Washington, D.C. She was part, if you can believe this, of the official security team for the March on Washington. She had a uniform and everything. She did not ask permission, because if she had, I wouldn't have given it. But that's okay. Then next week, she apparently is off to Israel. The girl has no capacity to settle down. Tamara is not here. She is attending the Society of Biblical Literature, where she is incoming president for that international organization. She's with something like 10, 11,000 of her closest friends. So that's going on there. Anyone else have something to throw in? And if not, well, hi, Doug Caden, we just saw you. Karen Sarachik, hi, Karen. So good seeing you last week, Karen. Been a long time. Merle, is that your hand?
That's my hand. I just want to say that I've retired from the Coleman 3-day after 15 years of crewing for them. But our daughter and granddaughters are all three in San Diego walking and crewing for the Breast Cancer Society, raising money and everything else. And we're just really proud of this. Is Sharon's 32nd walk, and it's the girls' 3rd year on the youth corps, and they have to raise money as well as the walkers and other crew. So I'm feeling weird that I'm not there, but they're sending me lots of pictures and videos. So that's a good thing.
Thank you for that. I want to point out that I have this blue growth on my shirt. And it is now an international symbol of bring home the hostages. And wearing a blue ribbon today. What do you have on your wrist, Lynn? What does it say?
They sent them to us, all of those.
Bring them home.
Bring them home. I have one of those.
Bring them home. I'm Yisrael High. I bring them home.
The temple sent those to us yesterday, yeah.
Excellent. Cindy?
I just want to mention, and Sue can help me, Rabbi Eshel mentioned yesterday, he's gathering a group to go to Israel mid-December just to help out. There'll be a group in December, April, and May to help with where there are lapses because of everyone fighting. And they'll be in distribution centers. They'll be helping whatever their skill is. They'll be working in orchards, harvesting. But it hasn't been publicized yet. But just wanted to let people know this is happening from our temple. And I think it's a lovely situation.
I think it's great. I think it's great. Let us now continue into the text. I want to start off with what I categorize as a fun fact. If you have the Plout, turn to page 181. If you just simply have a normal Bible, Genesis 27:46. Genesis 27:46.
746.
181. And this is a test. You're all going to be graded on your response. In the Hebrew, verse 46 at the bottom of 181, the last line, there is something weird in the Hebrew which you do not have to be able to read Hebrew to see. Okay? Anyone pick up what's weird in that last line on page 181, verse 46? Give you another couple of seconds, testing your, okay, Donna, what do you see?
So
I see a hyphen.
Yeah, we hyphen.
Yeah, between L and Yitzchak, but I don't know.
That's put in by the printer, and it's not part of the Masoretic text.
Okay. Never mind.
Okay, anybody else? I see, let's see, what do we got here? David Caden.
Yeah. There's two circles above Yaakov.
Okay, there's two circles about your Yaakov. That's on the, those are chanting notes.
Okay.
And I am not going to pretend that I'm going to sing them out loud. Cindy?
After Hayim, there's two letters very light.
Under?
After the word Hayim. At the very end.
After the word Chayim?
In my version.
And is it a Kuf Chet?
Yes.
That's just 28. That's a chapter marking.
Oh, it's nowhere else.
Okay. They do that just to keep you alert.
Okay.
Hey, Donna, back, last chance.
Okay, so Katsti, the kuf is is little instead of the normal size.
That's it. Bingo. Okay. The 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth word, line, verse 46. Katsti, the kuf is small. Okay? You see it?
no,
Now, it's there.
It's there.
It's there. It's small. It is
Oh,
a midget kuf.
oh, I do see it.
Okay. Now I wouldn't lie to you. It's Shabbos. The word katsti is basically Rebecca, who is severely pregnant, saying, "I've had it, katsti. I abhor my life. I am just having misery. The twins, whoever inside my womb, are making me miserable." And then there is the small kuf on the word kasti, which means I abhor my life or whatever. And the rabbis say that's very intentional to indicate how unhappy she was. They took the word, I'm really miserable, and they made it defective with a small kuf. And that just goes to show how miserable Rivka was. Now, the other possible reason is that we have a scribal error. And as the Torah is being copied out, one scribe put in a small kuf. Then another scribe, copying that Torah to make another Torah, saw a small kuf. And that scribe said, "Oh, this must be divine intention. I'm going to put in a small kuf too." And before it's over in 2023, some silly teacher is saying, "Look what happens to scribal errors in the middle of the Torah scroll." Okay? Why is it fun? It's fun because it helps us keep a focus on the fact that the Torah was handwritten by human beings, and that to claim absolute perfection for every flaw or missing word is simply, not worth the effort, because it isn't perfect that way. You do know that they now have computer programs. After a Torah is written, they run it through this computer program, which will pick up anomalies, mistakes, and so forth. So the Torah is written in 2023, 2022, 2021 are far more accurate replications of the prior Torahs than in previous generations. Sukasa.
So if they find an error, how do they correct it?
What happens is they're not going to be able to go back, Sukasa, and correct 2000, whenever the error was made in the year 1422. The error is in, and the rabbis will use great intelligence in explaining the error, and that's where we sit. I mean, that's where we sit. And the most famous one is when Cain says to Abel, starts making a statement, and half the sentence is missing in the book of Genesis. And rabbis have written all kinds of commentaries. That's what we do. It's kind of like an employment thing. And they wrote all kinds of explanations, none of which are valid. It's a scribal error. But we can't go back into the manuscripts now and invent what the line should have been. So every time a traditional Jew studies that section of the Torah, you look at the rabbinic commentaries for the reasons. That's all. I mean, so it's just, I like the small kuf, okay? It's nothing important. It's an anomaly, and that's nice. Now, this chapter, this Sedra, opens up a favorite topic. How many of you have a sibling, brother, sister, or an otherwise sibling? How many of you have siblings? Okay. Genesis is filled with sibling troubles. From Cain and Abel to the beginning. And it's not just that. It's fathers, mothers, sisters, brothers. Is someone willing to share what some of the problems are in normal sibling relationships without saying, this is my life and I got to tell you about my sister? Instead of doing that, just what could go on in a sibling relationship in a normal family?
Jealousy.
Okay, Rebecca, what do you have?
Jealousy. Jealousy.
Jealousy. Okay, I see jealousy. Anyone else?
They're not open yet.
Okay, Larry?
Competition.
Competition. Okay, Susie. I can't hear you, Susie.
One's parental love for the other child and not for the other one, or something of that sort. Favoritism, I would say, would be one of the things.
Favoritism. What a happy thing being a sibling. Does anyone want to toss anything else in?
He's got no business.
Anyone else? I'm looking for hands. I see no other hands. You don't want to be honest about your relationships, right? Okay, I'll give you that. The Genesis tells the story as it is. But there's something else often about siblings, which is not competition, favoritism, whatever. What else is there very often in sibling relationships? I may be competitive with you, but I love you.
Right.
I may hate you, but I love you. I may not want to speak with you, but I miss you. Okay, now I'm getting some nods. Oh, yeah. Oh,
Love.
yeah.
Love.
And if you are at all tempted on the basis of Torah study to call up a sibling, God willing, you still can, and say something nice today, that would be good. That would be, hi, we were doing Torah study, and I was thinking of you. And the person at the other end of the phone will say, why now? You haven't called in 20 years. So, okay. But in any event, that is going on. Loving relationships, competition, and the question that Cain puts out, right? Cain's question. Am I my brother's keeper? Right? Am I my... That question has echoed through history.
Yeah.
Please, yes, okay. Natalie.
Well, I've always been impressed with the story of Cain and Abel, in that the Torah is telling us straight from the beginning that even brothers kill one another, that human beings are going to be at war with one another always. And I think that is the lesson from the beginning and up to today with what we see in Israel. Human beings basically have this tendency to be jealous, to be this, to be that, all that we said, that the humans are evil creatures in many ways. That's how I read that story, and that's how I read what you're saying today about brothers and sisters.
Okay.
It's not pretty, so you don't like it, but that's
no, it's not that. I'm just becoming instantly depressed.
I don't want to make you depressed, but that is what's in these stories.
Oh, and I'm not going to disagree with you.
Okay. I should have said that then. Okay.
What was Freud's comment? People, I think he said men. Men are wolves to men. People are wolves to each other. And that's part of it. That's part of it. And thank you. That, you have, okay, What's the most famous trio, brothers and a sister, in the Torah?
Moses, Miriam, and Aaron.
You got it. Okay. Moses, Aaron, and Miriam, right? And they got along terrifically, except when they didn't. And you have an instance when Miriam is gossiping against Moses and Aaron is worrying about his priestly prerogatives. And Moses, Aaron, and Miriam were siblings. Give me the most famous sibling story in the Torah. The most famous. Joseph, right? Joseph and the brothers. There is a line in Genesis which basically said the brothers couldn't speak Joseph's name without grimacing. They hated him, which is a great way to build a sibling family relationship. I don't want to walk away from Harriet's comment. People are often terrible to each other. And that's true. And sometimes doing nice things for someone has to begin with a decision to be nice and overcome whatever was there. There are some people, I guess, thank God for them, who are filled with a kind of love for others which transcends normal conflict. The Jewish tradition calls them the Lamed Vavniks, the 36 righteous. Christians would call them saints, whatever it is, but it's hard not to be disappointed about people sometimes. It just is. And how we cope with that often determines the kinds of lives we lead. I see Howard. Okay, Howard?
Earlier it said in Genesis that man is created in the image of God. And although monotheism, was certainly became part of Judaism, but these stories we're reading now go back to a time clearly where there were many gods, and it's said that God, Adonai, is a jealous God. So why wouldn't human beings be jealous siblings?
Yeah, and by the way, you could go to Greek mythology, right? How did the gods get along with each other? They had, right, Sukasa, they had some minor conflicts. My favorite is the image of somebody lying on top of a mountain and having birds come down and eat his liver every day. That is a beautiful image. Okay, so one of the things, is it too much to say, that we try to get out of our community studying Torah is to learn how to be with people a little bit better. I don't know if that works, but when Buber, for example, talks about I, thou, and says that in between a person and the other in the relationship, if there is an open relationship, loving relationship, God exists in that space, which, how much of philosophy, how much of Jewish theology ethics, morality, based upon the perceived need to improve our relationships with other people. A full-time 24/7 activity. And Natalie, I don't see that we necessarily end up losing that struggle, but I surely would agree with you that it is a struggle to establish relationships that are not violent or dangerous. It's really true. And thank you for what you offered. Thank you. Brad? Brad? Your hand is up, Brad. I can't see him and I just see his hand. Okay.
Okay, Rabbi, can you hear me? Sorry about
I can
that.
hear you now.
You know, you mentioned the Greeks a minute ago, and I was thinking of Greek theater, and there's only one instance, amongst all the horrible things that they do to each other, a fratricide, and that's in Antigone. And yet in our Bible, this brother relationship is absolutely obsessive. It's again and again and again. And how do you explain that obsession with that particular relationship?
I can't explain it. I can validate that what you're saying is true, but I can't explain it. I mean, what the brothers did to Joseph, how am I gonna say, okay, in the course of human events, that's a natural thing to pick up your brother, throw him in a pit, and then sell him? No. But sometimes we feel like taking a brother or a sister and throwing them in a pit or selling them. And I see some smiles. Do not speak. Keep your smiles to yourselves. I can't explain it, Brad, but the violence is there. There's another piece, and I talked about this Thursday evening, Friday, in my Facebook posting, that when I am with my sibling, I am with a part of myself. That's a problem too. That in some ways we become complete when we are with a sibling. And in some ways, that reality is uncomfortable, and we don't like it. Do you know what phantom limbs are? You do. Phantom limbs, right? Cindy, what's a phantom limb? Go.
When you've had a part of your body or a limb amputated, you still feel like it's there.
Yes. It's a part of your body. It's gone. And if it's gone, you still feel its presence. With the death of a sibling, that often happens. And it's strange. With all the difficult relationships, the loss of a sibling is like the loss of a limb. Sometimes. Abby Barron, first of all, I want to make a comment, Abby Barron, and here's the comment. Hi! We saw each other at the Reagan Museum, but it is so wonderfully good to see you again. But you had your hand up. So, Abby.
Well, I was just going to say, I wish I had a family like that. I didn't grow up in that kind of family, and I've always wished I had that kind of family. And so, although it might be typical, this same kind of hate occurs in families, and it's very sad.
Indeed. And it's part of the human condition. Okay? And it's part of what makes us complicated. Okay, we're going to move on. Oh, Sukasa.
No, it's okay.
No, you have your hand up electronically, please.
I was going to say that you see a lot of turmoil occur when a parent passes, when the parents pass away, and suddenly the kids become like vultures feeding on their parents' largesse. And it's very sad that, in other words, the families get along fine until there's something where there's a choice. Who's going to get this goblet? Who's going to get this picture? And then the vitriol. It's surprising that it goes on, that people can not put that aside and say, well, it's not really as important as my relationship with my sibling.
Yeah, I remember that when we were breaking up our big house, the big house we lived in for a long period of time, and we knew that we had to consolidate. So Risa invited our 3 kids to wander through the house and put Post-its on the things that they want to claim. On the one hand, it was a great gesture. On the other hand, out of our house filled with wonderful objects of our travels and our collections. Go on, Risa, finish the story.
Ron chose one bowl. And
Do you know how insulting that was?
It was very, except that the biggest issue, if you remember, was the tags they put on the books. They went through the library.
They wanted the books.
They wanted the books.
When I tried to raise them to want the gold, the silver, and they put Post-its on the books. Sukasa. Oh, and you're muted. Okay, we'll let it go. She dropped her thing there. Now, we're going to go, because this is so much fun. Page 179, which is Genesis 27:18. Going then to his father, he being Jacob. It was Jacob. Jacob goes to Father Isaac and says, Dad! And Isaac says, here I am. Which son of mine are you? Here's my question. Knowing we've read the stories of Genesis, how blind was Isaac really? How blind was Isaac really? Okay, Abby?
Well, I don't have the book in front of me, but when you said, here I am, well, the first question in the Bible was, where are you? And Isaac is saying, here I am. So that was sort of interesting. That's the take I got on it. And I think the father knew, but that's my conjecture.
But that's
I don't think it existed, but it's like, I don't know, things happen.
That's a nice way to put it. Yeah, things happen. How blind was Isaac really when Jacob comes in, with the fur things that the Rebecca, and the whole business? I'm going to raise a question. Jacob comes in and gives Dad the hunter stew made of the animals that he hunted and brought for his father, because that was an Esau thing. Okay? And he puts it before his father. But what Jacob puts before his father is not a hunter's stew. What is it? What is it? It's a goat stew that Mama prepared to give Jacob to give to Isaac. That's in the story, right? Because Jacob did not go out with I guess in those days, and what is it, MK-47, a weapon of mass destruction to shoot down a deer. He brought Dad a goat stew. I am not a cook, but I assure you, I am an eater. Okay? Can you tell the difference between a deer stew and a goat stew?
Probably not.
Oh, I think probably.
I think you can, definitely.
I think probably yes. And yet, in the story, Isaac scarfs down Jacob's pseudo hunter stew and says something like, "Ooh, just like always." Question: how blind was Isaac? What's going on here? I see Mara. Of course, I don't know. It could be Harv, but it's.
Well, two comments. First, your comment about knowing the difference between goat and venison. There are some of us who would not be able to tell the difference because of difficulty in taste. So to make the assumption that he could tell the difference, I think is incorrect. And secondly, I think this portion that we're talking about is all about perception, how we perceive, whether Isaac, whether we can speak about Isaac as perceiving divinely, and therefore his desire to ignore that it's not Esau, but it is Jacob, is because of that divine inspiration, or that, as we all do, Isaac is making a determination based on his preconceptions of what he should do, as opposed to what the so-called facts are.
The rabbis, by the way, Mara, will follow up, and I'm sure you know this, on your approach and say that Isaac had a prophetic insight that Jacob is going to be the one who's going to, move the tribe forward, and therefore, in fact, whatever. But the issue also that you raised so wonderfully, perception is a big thing in the book of Genesis. Jacob is sitting at home. Most of his sons are out in the field somewhere. And he says to Joseph, why don't you go out alone to where your brothers are in the wilderness someplace and see how they're doing? He was totally blind to the relationship between Joseph and his brothers. Totally blind. Okay, I see Donna Shapiro. And then I see two other names. I see Merle and I'm missing one, but Larry. Okay, so Donna, Merle, Larry.
I want to respectfully disagree with Nora. I think that, first of all, the fact that he keeps asking him and following up on these questions, are you really him? Are you really this? I think that he is preparing a case for himself to say, I knew that I didn't know that it was the wrong one. He wants to pick Jacob, but he knows he's supposed to choose Esau. So he's building a case saying, look, he told me this, he told me this, I touched him, I ate the food, and I really believed it was Esau. Don't blame me that I did the wrong thing.
But he didn't really believe.
No.
Okay, good. Okay, how
that's my opinion.
And he really believed that the election was stolen too.
Let's not go there. Okay. I see Merle and Larry.
I'm thinking that I'm looking at, seeing people with siblings and they try to please each sibling, that he was happy that anybody gave him it. I don't think it mattered to him which son it was. I think it was a matter of just thanking whichever son it was for giving him the food. I don't think I would know the difference in whether you gave me goat versus lamb, to be honest with you. I've had both and they're meat, and depends on how it's cooked. But I really have this feeling that sometimes you just want to please whichever child it is, or thank whichever child it is, whatever the issues are between them and between you and them. So that's where I'm coming from.
Okay. By the way, Rashi puts in goat meat stinks. It's in Rashi. It's in Rashi. But okay, Larry.
To me, the biggest clue that Isaac knew exactly what he was doing was the fact that he was having this conversation with Jacob. And I don't know, I don't hear much commentary about the voice. He's blind, he has to feel the hairy skin, but here he is having a conversation with one of his sons, and he doesn't seem, or at least they don't talk about recognizing his voice. And I can't imagine that big, gruff Esau and, small, gentle Jacob sound the same when they talk to their father. I'm wondering if there's any discussion of that anywhere.
There is plenty of it. I want to find the exact quote, though I can quote it. Verse 22, page 179 in the Plout. Jacob approached his father Isaac, who felt him, because Isaac is blind. He felt
the voice.
Okay, and said, and this is one of the most famous quotes in the Torah, Hakol kol Yaakov vayadayim yedei Esav. The voice, that's the voice of Jacob, but the hands are the hands of Esau.
He had to know what he was doing.
Larry, go ahead. You gave 10 points tomorrow, and I don't even know.
I don't know. I have something to say too on this story.
Did you have a bad day yesterday? You are really down on people.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Talking to me. Well, is it my turn now?
Go ahead, sure.
When you turn the story around this way, what you're doing then is making less of Rebecca in her cleverness in what she did. And the way I remember the story is that Rebecca was a genius at how she put this together, because it was Rebecca who decided who she wanted to be the first son. And so we're twisting it now the other way, other than what we have learned before about how that women were brilliant in the Torah, but they stood in the background and came through the men, but it was their ideas.
I have a feeling there's going to be the Board of Trustees regarding Stanley Davids' anti-feminist position, right? You dared to attack. Isaac was a wimp. Isaac was a wimp. He was smart enough to marry a strong woman like his mother so that he could be saved of having to make decisions. Of the 3 patriarchs, do you know that there is actually a conversation among the rabbis, not a big conversation. Maybe we should only have two patriarchs. Isaac, do you know that Isaac was the first Sabra? Think about that. Isn't that fun? Isaac was the first born in Eretz Yisrael. He never left. Abraham wandered all over the Fertile Crescent. Jacob went to Egypt, went to here, went to there. And Isaac went to nowhere. Isaac stayed at home, but he was the first Sabra. And of course, one of the rabbis pointed out, and he was the first Hebrew-speaking Jew, which is, of course, nonsense because they weren't speaking Hebrew back then. Okay? Even if there wasn't a then. Okay, I'm going to be in such trouble after today. Thank you, all of you. Rebecca.
Well, I just want to say that I have to support Isaac. I have to support Isaac since my name is Rebecca, but I do want to suggest that he had cataracts, glaucoma, when was hard of hearing.
Okay, Isaac had cataracts, glaucoma, and he was hard of hearing. Oh, are we having a bad day today? Okay. There is in verse 22, when I asked the question, how blind was Isaac? I'm going to now throw in Stanley's conclusion, which, based upon everything that's being said, has no validity whatsoever. Fine. Jacob and Esau, as understood by the rabbis, were archetypes. Even by the time that these stories were written down, probably after the Babylonian exile, probably. Esau is the enemy outside. There is nothing Esau could have done because his character was created as an archetype. Jacob is, what's his other name?
Israel.
Jacob is Israel. Esau is the other. And as the rabbis struggled to understand what was going on in the scene in Ar Sedra, they were fully convinced that Esau is the forerunner of the Romans. Esau is the eternal enemy. Jacob had to get the blessing because he was Israel. So when the rabbis read this story, they don't read what was going on between two brothers and a cataract, glaucoma, hard of hearing father, and Harriet, and a strong, wise, capable mother. I have to, okay? So Rebecca gets all credit. We have the struggle between Rome and Israel. We have the struggle between the enemy outside and the Jewish people. Esau was the stand-in for Rome. He is an archetype for the forces that oppose spiritual success. So the rabbis read this with a totally different lens than we're using. We're struggling to figure out what's going on in the literary document, in the book, in the chapter, right? And they were struggling to take this story to speak to the world they knew. And if you take anything resembling history, that's 1,000 years after the story apparently took place. It's a fascinating perspective. Jacob will become the namesake of the Jewish people. He must receive the blessing. Rebecca has got to prepare him for his future. And Esau must lose. According to rabbinic tradition, even biblical tradition, Esau will become the founder of Edom, the Edomites, who ultimately are the Romans. And Edom, in the time of the Second Temple, already was enemy of the Jewish people. Any comments on this now? I am going to close just because. Okay, all right. You're going to get a last lick, Howard. Go ahead. And Abby, Howard and Abby, and then we stop. Go ahead.
Was Esau also the progenitor of Amalek?
No. Amalek be different. Amalek, in the reverse, is not the product of, but the source of. It's a flip. Amalek is Haman. Okay? And the rabbis in the 20th century take Amalek to be the Nazis. When in the 30s, rabbis in Germany wanted to attack the Nazi government, they delivered sermons against Amalek. Obscure fact. Okay, and last comment, Abby.
Well, I mean, concretely though, I mean, I understand, I agree with you, like what this means, but also it's sort of interesting. It's like father, like son, because Isaac was, they found a wife for him and everything. And sort of now it's perpetuating this family history now that Rebecca now is doing this for Jacob. Do you know what I'm saying? Because Isaac was older. They had to find a wife for him. Do you know what I'm saying?
I know that. By the way, and there's just so much in here. Jacob gets into bed with his beloved, their marriage night, and he misidentifies her. Right? This is going on everywhere. Right? Oh, Rachel, I love you. Rachel, I love you. Come to me. And Leah says, yeah, Daddy. You know what? And he didn't know the difference.
Right. So it's a sort of, it keeps perpetuating this like.
Oh, God, is it? Oh, God, is it? We love Genesis because as parents, we have never experienced self-imposed blindness, have we? Don't answer that question. Don't. Okay, I want to leave with Rabbi Avram Kook, a mystic. Just as there are both positive and negative forces in the world, so every person is a composite of positive and negative traits. We need these negative forces. Without the power and vitality of the negative forces in us, many goals and aspirations would lack the energy to be realized. Do you want to spend an hour on that? We need some of the unpleasant emotions we experience because they serve as an engine to drive us forward. Gonna leave that. We are now gonna go for Kaddish Yortzeit. We mentioned, by the way, love you guys and thank you. I mean, this was great, right? This is Genesis like we never wanted to know it. Those who have passed away during the past month: William Burnkrant, Nan Brostoff, Lisa Cohn, Ralph Foxman, Marvin Gerstein, Michael Harris, Renee Dunya Haller, Stephen Loeb, Gary Winnick. And the following, the anniversaries of whose deaths have occurred during the past week: Alma Abrams, Sarah Nazarian, Akhtarzad, David Barkin, Philip Bartmaster, Samuel Berkowitz, Bernice Bernstein, George Barris, Beatrice Blackman, Samuel Blattis, Estelle Bloomfield, Jack Broder, Maurice Chao, Florence Cohn, Mildred Connie, Ann Cooper, Judy Corman, Saul Cutrow, Harry Davids, Abraham Diamond, Reuben Dom, Anson Dreisen, Judy Eder, Francine Feynman, Gary Finkel, Eli Fishman, Robert Frankel, Renee Bowden Friedman, Rizal Friedman, Elahed Gamliel, Arnold Gold, Harry Golden, Nathaniel Goldstein, Edie Gordon, Lazarus Moses Gordon, Minnie Gordon, David Greenberg, Betty Greenberg, James Greenwald, Inez Grover, Carlotta Gutworth, Marvin Ginn, Edith Ginn, J. Allen Hanover, Gerald Oswald Heyman, Jack Hirsch, Dora Hodes, Francis Lesman, Svi Carney, Najat Katan, Andrew David Kent, Richard Kirshner, Eric Clapper, Morton Kleinberg, Marvin Komorski, Elian Kozlow, Edward Lash, Herman, Ira Lawrence, Arthur Levine, Mort Lowy, Sylvia Lurie, Sion Makhani, Estelle Markowitz, Seymour Markowitz, Mildred Brick Mayer, Robert Mendelson, Carol Miller, Jay Maloney, Emmanuel Morkey, Max Neiman, Arthur Pearl, Samuel Pike, Isaac Pressman, Spencer Pritikin, Fran Rappaport, Edward Maurice Regal, Hermio Aguero, Benjamin Rubin, Rosangela Lucien Rinsky, Lester Riskin, Jack Robbins, Dora Levy Roddy, Arnold Rolnick, Ruth Rosenberg, Harry Rosenberg, Elias, Victor Rosencrantz, Mildred Firth Rosencrantz, Arnold Rosenzweig, Leah Sauter, Carolyn Scher, James Canadlin, Bernard Bud Shields, Barbara Silvers, Joseph Sclaver, Isaac Skluth, Bryony Sloan, Bessie Sommer, Annette Sussman, Molly Tushin, Wally Weissenberg, Blanche Weiner, Geraldine Wilner, Valeria Wolf, Joan Seligson. I apologize for the names I misspelled. If I have omitted names or there are names that you would like to have read now, please speak those names aloud or say them in your hearts. We mention as well the those who died in the service of the United States, those who died in the service of the State of Israel, those who died through senseless acts of horror, those who have no one to say Kaddish for them. If there are any other names to be read, we'll join together in Kaddish now. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah v'almad divra chirutei v'amlich malchutei v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayechol beit Yisrael ba'agala u'vizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabba Mavorach Li'olam Li'omei Almaya Yitbarach Shtabach V'yitpa'ar Yitromam V'yitnaseh V'yitadar V'yitaleh V'yitalal Shemei Dekudisha Barichu Le'ela Min Kol Berachata V'shirata Tushbachata V'nechamata Damiran Mi'alma V'imru Amen. Yehei Shlama Rabba Mishmaya. V'chayim Aleinu. V'al Kol Yisrael.
V'imru Amen.
Oseh Shalom Ramav. Yaseh Shalom. Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael.
V'imru Amen.
May God, who makes peace in the high places, make peace in our hearts, make peace in our homes, make peace in the household of Israel, make peace among all the families and nations of earth. And let us say,
Amen.
Amen.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat
Thank
shalom.
you.
Thanksgiving.
Thank
Shalom,
you.
everybody.
And
Thank you.
peace.
Thank you.
Pray
Thank you.
for the return of the hostages. Wear the blue ribbon. Pray for peace. Shabbat
Amen.
Shalom, everybody.
Shalom.
Thank you. Shabbat
Thank
Shalom,
you.
everyone.
Thank you.